Okay. Hi everyone, it's group number 3 and myself Sandeep Kaur Sandhu. My student ID is 07715884. Our presentation topic is rising tariffs and rate of fuel costs. And this presentation will provide details about the reasons behind rising tariffs and rate of fuel and its history, its impact on international trade, its impact on Canada's local economy, moreover, its impact on Canada's international trade relations. More about steps that should Canadian government can take to solve it and our recommendations to solve it. First of all, rising tariffs and fuel costs are one of the reasons which impact the broader economy. These directly affect the price of basic needs, which affect their local income level and standard of living, which make falling economic rate. Now, what tariff is? Tariff is a type of tax imposed on imported goods produced in countries by the government, which help the domestic market in this way that it make importing of good less desirable by increasing the price of foreign goods and help domestic markets to grow and produce goods. This is a short-term protection for domestic markets. And now, higher fuel costs means people pay more at pumps than other goods. Fuel is the important input of transportation, which affect the private vehicles riders, but also public transport riders like bus, airplanes, etc. This inflation drives people to pay more for fuel, which affect the country's economy.
Now, I am going to explain the history of rising tariff and rate of fuel. Tariff is duty that apply on the goods and services while crossing international boundaries. Tariff and quotas started in 90s from the period to till the time of globalization. It's imposed on the products. Mainly taxes are levied on the goods. Due to tariff duties, everything going to expensive, like prices gets increased and actually give birth to inflation. In case oil, its price goes up as with passage of time. There are several reasons behind it. Like inflation is maybe rise due to the rise of tariffs and other excise duties. In the majority of cases, oil is import from the one nation to other nation. Like oil is very important, which is used for the movement of vehicles transportation. So oil is import from the one nation to another. So as per norms, we have to pay heavily charges on that.
Next, I am explained about impact on international trade. Mexico, the important country in a free trade, imposes a specific tariff on imports of wheat. As a tax on imports, the tariff will inhibit the flow of wheat across the border. I will now cost more to move the produce from the United States into Mexico. This will show the how to this will show the two tariff two countries tariff. Tariff increase the prices of imported goods. Because of this, domestic producers are not forced to reduce their prices from increased competition, and domestic consumers are left paying higher prices as a result. Despite the protectionist motivations, tariffs tend to be a barrier to international trade and business overall. Other countries often retaliate and impose their own tariff. Next, when goods are tariffed, the industry that produce those goods often sees an increase in job creation. This help employ more people in the sector. This will be a positive point of increasing a tariff. Next, countries do not like when tariffs are imposed on their exports. So the relationship between countries often deteriorates. They often retaliate with their own tariff on similar products. This will be a negative point when gas prices rise and it can be dragged on the economy, impacting everything from consumer spending to the price of airline tickets to hiring practice. Increase in oil prices make transportation costly, which offset the import and export of goods and services. The international market has reduced fuel production and produced less fuel to gain more profit.
Hi, my name is Gaurav. Now I explain the major impact on Canadian local economy. Due to increase in oil prices, the inflation rate increases, which reduce the economic growth of Great Canada. This inflation leads to increase in prices, other goods and services. All costs are bear from customers. Customers pay more for gasoline, heating oil, and transportation services. The extent to which rising of oil prices makes higher overall inflation. Canada export oriented resources and manufacturing industries get affected because if there is any natural disaster which lead to increase the price of oil by which its production cost rises and its economic activity gets slowed down. With the increase in oil prices, production cost of oil incentives intensive sectors of economy like manufacturing and transportation. It reduced the potential activity in the economy of Canada province like Ontario and Quebec. 9.4 percentage of household consumption uses energy. Therefore, higher energy costs paid by Canada people from their wallet. This way, they spend more than twice of their income on purchasing energy, and this directly impact on the Canada's income economy. Industries such as constructions, automotive, aerospace, food and beverage manufacturing would be negatively impacted by tariffs by boosting input costs which could be passed on the customers there and thereby raising consumer prices. Constructions, autos and machinery manufacturing comprise 18% of total domestic steel consumption and their input cost would rise. With cost going up, jobs and prices would take a hit. Any Canadian tariffs of American imports would have forced Canadian consumer to pay more for products hit by Mayer, just as the US tariffs would have driven up the cost of everything from beer to cars by forcing American consumer to pay a tax on products made with Canadian aluminum. The decision by US government to impose a 25% tariff on steel and 10% tariff on aluminum imports from Canada occupy with Canadian government retaliatory. Mayer have unquestionably had a negative effect on the Canadian economy. Overall, household business and investors are affected by higher oil prices through a variety of channels. Next.
Yeah, impact on Canada's international trade relations practices. Along with subsidies, some government impose restrictions on imported goods, more commonly known as traffic. This was seen in 2008 with the US traffic on Canadian steel and aluminum. The idea behind tariffs on imported goods is to protect a country's inten- internal production of similar or the exact type of goods. The traffic inflate the most of importing goods, so customer would buy lower priced, locally made good product instead supporting the industry. Next slide. After increasing the rate of tariff, Canada's trade deficit with Asia has been contempt by rising exports, except- especially of natural resources. After implementing the Canadian commodities by American government, the relationship between more complex between these two nations. Canada's export of aluminum products to US decreased more gradually than export of steel products. But the relation with Asian nations become better than others. Now I Jashan explain other.
Now, steps which are used to protect or solve the problems of government have taken it. Canada is taking action to cut pollution from the transportation sector. Like they are provide some different types of machineries or technology they can use for reduce the emission and reduce the consumption of fuel. They provide light duty vehicles which are less polluting over time. Canada's fuel efficiency standards have the potential to cut fuel cost in Canada and to create good jobs in the automotive sector by encouraging the adoption of cleaner vehicles. They also use some methane emissions by 40 to 45% to reducing the oil and gas by the 2025. Moreover, they are developing a clean fuel standard so that it can produce less emission and also affect the less to our environment, and it protects our surroundings by these harmful gases. At the WTO, Canada is actively pursuing improved disciplines on subsidies, greater transparency in the use of trade remedies by our trading partners, and clearer rules aimed at increasing predictability during investigations. Canada seeks to eliminations of all forms of export subsidies as quickly as possible, substantial reduction in trade distorting domestic support, and real and significant market access improvements. Now they also recommend some new technologies to way forward. Like they are recommend use natural gas, which is alternative to fuel that burns and clean and is available in many countries. Nowadays, latest technology is used to design cars and trucks which produce less harmful emission than diesel and gasoline. Like we have to make some natural gases like natural technology which cannot affect our environment so we can live healthy in our lives. So this will help to control global warming. Global warming is very important part which is very important to protect us. So if we can use less fuel, then we can save our global warming. Global. An alcohol-based alternative fuel made by fermenting and distilling crops such as crops, barley, and wheat. These two crops are used to make alcohol-based fuel. It can be blended with gasoline to increase octane levels. So if we can mix up it in a gasoline, then it increase the octane level and improve the emissions quality. So if the vehicle produce emission which is not harmful for our environment. To control tariffs, people should consume less and save more. So we have to control tariffs. How we can control tariffs? We have to manufacture some things and products in our own country. So we can control the tariffs. If we can buy and import by another country, it mainly increase. So we have to less borrowing from abroad will be needed to pay consumptions. Countries should focus on installing more manufacturing companies. I previously said that. So we have to manufacturing companies in our own country. So if we can manufacture the products, then it is very helpful for our nation. So we can pay tax to our government, and government will develop our own country. So that trading get less and they exempt from taxes. If company were to relocate its production, it could avoid paying. Thank you. This
Thank,
is our presentation, which is based on the rising tariff and rate of fuel. Thank you.
thank you.